Here's a question I have for you. It's actually an interesting one. So, I guess there was like a what was it? It was like one of those. I forget whose channel it was on, but it was a video. What it was one of those dumb like responding to SJWs video or something. I
Mm,
think it's called Questions for White Men, and I
mm,
think you were featured in the video, right?
mm.
Like, and that was so. Do you have any reflection on that? Do you regret that? Do you not regret that? You know.
Yeah, that video was on the Amazing Atheist channel,
Oh,
and when I
okay.
originally came up on YouTube, the Amazing Atheist was admittedly a dude who had inspired me quite a bit. Obviously, not to make atheist videos or anything like that, but I had seen his channel along with some other channels like the Angry Video Game Nerd and so on and so forth, and it said, "Wow, like these people have sort of like created a whole YouTube channel, a whole video series around this one thing that they're like really passionate about. Like, why could I not do the same thing with music? That just sort of makes sense to me." So later down the road, when finally TJ had acknowledged the content that I was making, like on Twitter, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, because I think he saw like a Marilyn Manson review that I had done. And, and we had some interactions based off of that. And he had asked me to be a part of this video, and based on the content I had seen of his before, where he had come off pretty left leaning, and also had expressed opinions where he was calling out and making fun of total morons in that video, like atheism is unstoppable. I had thought, okay, this kind of seems like it's going to be a taking the piss type video where it's just going to be like tongue in cheek and silly and ridiculous. Whereas, the video actually ended up kind of serious, like more serious than I would have anticipated it to be. And I took that opportunity to sort of like extend upon this meme troll character that I was developing for my channel, That Is the Plan, at the time, where I'd get the glasses and the wife beater and the beanie on, and I would just like be a total fucking asshole and just like a total unlikable, like fucking like basically the worst person like who could be on
Were
the
you
internet.
drifting towards the anti-SJW stuff on that channel specifically, or no?
I would say the politics expressed in the videos on that channel were across the spectrum, and it was really all about like eating up and regurgitating back out like the worst that the internet had to offer, and that meant like making fun of YouTube apology videos. That meant throwing in memes and making fun of MAGA. That meant making fun of SJWs. That meant making fun of like basically every shitty, annoying thing that internet culture had to offer. And there were people who were SJWs who watched my channel and got sort of like the weird alternative meme angle of the channel. There were people who were like, part of this burgeoning new right wing fucking Pepe bullshit that were watching some of the videos on the channel. It was kind of weird and all over the place. And there were people who were like 4chan heads who were watching the channel. And there were a bunch of people who were watching the channel that were like from my music channel as well. There were tons of people who were watching the channel as well from knowyourmeme.com who were actually like, that's a pretty fucking normie meme site. Generally, a lot of the videos on the channel weren't like mega political or anything like that. I was literally like reviewing memes or just like literally making shit post videos, making videos where I would pretend to bully other YouTubers. I did a video where I made fun of PewDiePie's You Laugh, You Lose series, where instead of just like, if you laugh at a meme, you lose, if you laugh at a meme, I had to put a staple from a staple gun in me.
Oh
Um,
shit.
so there were a lot of ridiculous videos on the channel where I was like trolling, shit posting, being really offensive, being really insensitive, being totally over the fucking top, um, and sometimes falling on the wrong side of issues with a wink, wink. Like in my Harambe video, I remember I had different points in the video where I had called out that the meme in the video was racist or had racist usages in the video. There was another video where I was talking about well, anyway, I'm digressing here, but anyway, so I had this character that I was sort of like this meme troll fucking loser that I was pretending to be, and I thought that I could apply this character to the Amazing Atheist video. And then I didn't really think much of it until after the fact when the video came out, And then when I finally got a glimpse of it, I was like, what the fuck is Atheism is Unstoppable doing in this video? And then it's like, what are all these genuine arguments doing throughout the video? I thought this was going to be like a shitpost video. And to me, that was when TJ had like, okay, so now it's like, it's pretty official that he's like trying to basically appeal to this new burgeoning, I know we use these terms of like, you know, alt-right and alt-light and so on and so forth. But at the time when all of this was coming up, this was the YouTube skeptic community.
Right.
Which,
yeah,
like, whatever
so you
that
didn't know that any of those people were going to be on that video.
Well, yeah, number one. And number two, it's like what that was going to develop into even further down the road, nobody even fucking knew that. You know what I mean? Because at the time that was like that was the skeptic community. And at the time that video was ultimately a response to those cheeky, ridiculous BuzzFeed videos, you know, that they were coming out with around the time. And those videos, for the most part now, have been largely forgotten, some of which caught quite a bit of flack on the left and the right. I remember MTV tried to jump on the same wave and made a really ridiculous one about Kanye. And we're saying all this ridiculous shit about like, oh, Kanye, we take your fucking black card. You know, you're not black anymore, this, that, and the other thing, because you talked to Donald Trump or some bullshit like that, which, like, you know, I've been highly critical of Kanye's love of Trump, but to, you know, sort of take away his identity and take away his agency just based off of that, I think is like kind of a step too far and kind of ridiculous. And the opposite of, you know, being woke. It's more fucking broke than woke. But yeah, that video, if I had an opportunity, look, if I had an opportunity to go back and redo a handful of things that I have done on the internet, I probably wouldn't have appeared in that video, or I would have asked TJ, like, what's the point of this video? Is this a joke video? Is this a serious video? I had known TJ to do comedy videos in the past, and based off of, I guess, just previous understanding.
At the time that video was made, was he, because there was a span of time where he was just pumping out videos, like answers to white men or answers to black people or something like that. Those BuzzFeed videos you were talking about. So was it at that time, or was it like right before that phenomenon of his channel where he was just, because he was just putting those out and they were exploding?
It was probably around that time. But of that content that he was making around that time, I wasn't watching as much of it as I probably should have been. So I probably would have redone that before. I know I interviewed Sargon back in the day on my main channel as well. If I could sort of like undo that, I would as well. And that was right after Gamergate. That was like before Sargon was like even really making hardcore political content and commentary and that sort of thing. And Sargon was not the only, you know, person, what I want to say is I was not the only person that had interviewed Sargon around that point. You know, I know Michael Brooks did, I know David Pakman did, and I know
Michael Brooks debated him. Michael Brooks debated him, and then David Pakman also kind of got into a bit of a debate as well.
Yeah. I guess it was kind of a debate, but it was like
Michael and Sargon had like a full on, like, it was a like huge, like massive debate. It was like,
if I remember the conversation that they had initially had, have they only been on video together once or twice?
So all I know is, though, they had that one time where they were talking about like Islam and stuff. Was all I remember.
Yeah. The conversation generally there was not as heated as I think I would have, you know, liked it to have been for a hardcore debate. There was even and I don't know exactly what the time frame on this is as well. I know Benjamin Dixon talked with Sargon as well, and that's where Sargon, you found that clip where Sargon was talking about that he has like black relatives or something.
Yeah, he said he has a like half black grandfather, and then he backed away from it.
if I could go back and say, hey, this weird Gamergate guy is like going to develop into A, B, C, and D, like I would have been like, okay, that's like a bad fucking move. I'm not going to do that. So I mean, at the time when Gamergate was a thing and Sargon seemed to be the most prominent voice coming out of it, I was kind of interested in it as a topic, given all of the content and all of the interviews sort of surrounding Gamergate around that time. You know, another undo that I would have liked to have done is that, you know, I interviewed that guy Sam Hyde as well, which I had done off the back of.
Isn't that guy like a Nazi comedian or something? I don't know.
Well, the thing is like at the time when I had interviewed him, I know that he was just on the cusp of getting an Adult Swim show, which he did. They did a whole first season of the show. And I knew him to be a very edgy comedian, but knowing his connections with Turner Broadcasting, I was like, okay, so this guy must be like properly vetted by, you know, the industry, because like I've been in some rooms with like TV execs. I've had, you know, contracts put in front of me for some of that shit. And it's like, they don't just fucking hand that shit to you, or at least in my, you know, experience, they don't.
Yeah, there's no way they don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, in my case, it's like the contract and the process of approving the show and doing a pilot and so on and so forth, and meeting with these people multiple times, it's usually really involved. And you sort of assume that like no way somebody as like unhinged as that politically is going to fucking get through that filter. But, you know, lo and behold, I guess it happened. So yeah, I did an interview with him based off of, you know, the comedy he had done around that time, like the fucking, I want to say the TED Talk spoof that he did, which a lot of different publications had covered positively, including BuzzFeed. You know, again, the Adult Swim show, some of the viral sketches that he had online that had a pretty positive reception. And again, this was like definitely far before, you know, what a lot of what came out about him sort of down the road and everything after his show got canceled and everything. And then, you know, then as more information began to leak out, and then I actually started like reading a lot of his political opinions online that he seemed to be saying unironically, then I was like, oh fuck, this is like, you know, oh
Oh shit.